Hey guys, let's answer question number 1 here. The data below shows 14 eighth graders study time for a math exam and their score on that exam. Plot the data on the graph. So it looks like we got hours of study on the X, how long they studied for, anywhere from 0 to 12 hours, and then their test score. So I'm guessing this is a percent from 0 to like 100, and obviously a little bit over 100 you could get. So we have 14 students. So we're going to plot these to see if we have any kind of relationship between these two variables, right? So the first student studied for 6.5 hours, 6.5, and got a test score of 85. So looks like we number by ones on the X and by tens on the Y. So 6.5 is going to be halfway between 6 and 7. And then I'm going to go up to 85. So halfway between 80 and 90. So remember, some dots will be in the middle, some will be on the lines. And again, I'm going to mark each one that, a little dot by it that I used, that I plotted that point. The second student studied for 8 hours and got a score of 90. So 890. 680. 6 hours of study, score of 80. 4.5 hours of study time, 50. 8.5, 103. So over 100%. 7.5, 80. 796. 796. And again, I don't got to have these dots perfect. I just want to get them close. 7.5, 100. 7.5, 100. 670. 460. 568. 100. 691. And 574. Okay, so I plotted all the dots. Let's answer the questions. Are there any outliers? No, I don't see any outliers. I don't see any dots that are much different than the rest of the dots, right? All these dots are pretty clustered here. They're all kind of in a group. And to me, it looks like they're kind of going up, right? So if I drew a straight line through these, a line that was going up, I think I would have most of the dots would be really close to that line, right? And we're actually going to draw that line in a second, but what kind of association do you see? I would say positive, right? Looks like the longer they studied, the higher their test score. So the more time they spent studying, see how these dots on the far end of the studying are all up high, right? So the longer they studied, the better they did in the test. And that makes sense because obviously the longer you studied for a test, it doesn't guarantee you're going to do well, but the chances of doing well are going to be better, right, than if you didn't study at all. Draw your line of best fit. So this is new. What is the equation of the line? Approximate the slope. So a line of best fit is where we draw our line through the center of these dots. We're trying to have about half the dots on one side and half the dots on the other. So let's change the color of this line. Let's see if I can make it a different color. So I'm trying to get the line to kind of go through the center of these dots. And again, look, if I did it there, most of the dots would be below it, right? If I did it here, most of the dots are above it. I'm trying to get about it. So about half the dots are on one side of the line and half the dots are on the other. I think something like that looks pretty good. So this line is definitely going up. It's definitely positive, right? And it says I need the equation. So I need the y equals mx plus b, right? I need it to be in y equals mx plus b. Remember, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, right? And b is the y-intercept. So let's see if we can figure out these things. This line looks like remember, this is our y line, right? It touches the y-axis at about halfway between 30 and 20, right? If this line kept going, looks like it would be right around about, the y-intercept's about 25. So again, it touches this y line right around about 25. And I'm looking for the slope. So I'm trying to find two dots that are on the line, and if there's not, we can add them, but it looks like we do have some dots that are on this line, right? This dot right here, even though, I can't see it all right now, but there's a dot right there. And this dot right here looks like both those dots are exactly on that line, right? So I'm looking for two. Whenever you do this, you're looking for two dots that are on that line. I found two. If there wasn't two dots, you can add the dots if you need to, but this one had two dots. So let's name these coordinates. So the first dot was 4, 60. 4, 60. And the second dot is 6, 80, right? So this is where we use our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember that formula that we learned for slope? So this would be my x1 and my y1. And this would be my x2 and my y2, right? So it looks like I'd be doing y2 minus y1. I'd be doing 80 minus 60. And x2 minus x1, I'd be doing 6 minus 4. So 80 minus 60 is 20. 6 minus 4 is 2. And 20 over 2 simplifies, right, to 10 over 1 or 10, right? So I think my equation would be y equals 10x plus 25. So I drew my line of best fit. Here's my equation. All right, I think that should help you a little bit. I hope that helps.